Whenever you're ready.
Hello, world. Welcome back to another episode of dWeb Chats. I think we are on number 6 here. I'm very lucky to be joined by, of course, my co-host Squeaky, as almost always by now, and Alex Net, or Alex. Alex is gonna have to tell us exactly how to pronounce his last name correctly. But Alex is a man of many things. He works at Namebase on the design side, so all of those beautiful features that we all use are well thought out by Alex. He also owns a TLD that is staked. You can buy a subdomain on his TLD. I'm going to ask him to tell us all about that. And Alex is joining us today all the way from Portugal. So thank you so much for taking the time, my friend. How are you doing?
No, thank you. I appreciate the invite. It's always cool to talk to people on the community and spread the word out of what Handshake is and what it represents. By the way, my last name is Neto. It's
Neto.
yeah, Portuguese name.
His name. Okay. All right. Perfect. So Alex Neto. All right. There's a lot less syllables than Miglerini, but I cut mine down to 4 letters too. And your TLD. I mean, I'm sure you own more than one TLD, maybe even two. But the one that you choose, you kind of building a brand around these days is dot decentralized, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when I saw dot decentralized for the first time, I bought about what I consider premium SLDs, about 9 of them. And I always thought it was a super cool TLD. Although it's long, I think it's accurate to what it represents. And Chris, which was the previous owner of the TLD, wanted to focus on his main TLD, which is .nfts, and had that one for sale. So I reached out to him and was pretty lucky to get a good deal on it. And yeah, now I own .decentralized, which has a little above 70 registrations right now, which is super cool. And also, it's like not a TLD for making lots of money. It's like $2 on Namecheap. So the goal is really to reach the maximum amount of people to the decentralized web, decentralized world. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I uh, bought that domain. Yeah.
Very cool. I would say you got lucky maybe on getting a good deal on it. The community got lucky in that it's in good hands and that you're building it out at an affordable rate, which is very cool. I think I might have to clearly you got Alex, so I think I might have to go pick up Migs. Um, all right, that's a good. I think that's a good starting point. And again, highlighting that Handshake is extremely global. I sell merchandise of the Handshake logo, and I've shipped to. I want to make a map now, but several different countries, right? Different languages, different time zones. Coordinating any sort of event for Handshake is always interesting. And so I'm here in Southern California. You're coming all the way here from Portugal. You're working for a company called Namebase that most people are familiar with at this point, which is based
Yep.
technically in Northern California, but I think your team is pretty much in most continents at this point as well.
Oh
What's
yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell us about Namebase. Tell us what it's like to be at kind of the core company of Handshake that's built so much.
Yeah, so Namebase is really a global company, I would say. We have people in the US, Australia, all over Europe. I mean, it's pretty amazing to work with different type of cultures, and it's a product. I would say it's a mostly product-led company at this point. It's cool to see like how things are evolving internally, um, in terms of tech. We have now built out Namebase to be easier to ship out new features, new products to the community, and that's really one of the reasons we strive to do is get things out there, make them accessible to all of you, quickly iterate on them if they have any problems, because we do want to hear what our customers have to say about the product, how we can improve it. change it, you know. So yeah, I would say we're putting the product and the customer and the product first, and it's one of the things I like about working there.
Yeah, and that I think that definitely shines through. Now, like there have been some significant changes since the kind of the rebuild of the team. A couple years ago, I interviewed the original founder, Tayshan, and it seemed, you know, like Namebase had such a strong influence in Handshake from day one, and that was a it was big. Everything that was accomplished was big, but like the demand was overwhelming, and it was like when features right. And I think they were like, we're just a couple guys, you know, trying to make it work. And I know that we're still just a couple more guys, but we're still just a couple guys, and it's awesome to see that you guys have been putting the product and the customer first. I've noticed it in my use, also in accessibility. Like, you know, we're chatting here. You were at HandyCon, which is the first time we really met.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the rooms, and it's been really great chatting with the team and seeing the product ship. I work at a small company. We're around 24 people right now, and you know, sometimes the branding can make you look like so much more than what you are. You know, you're just you know, everyone's got a life behind the scenes. And a big part of Namebase, I think, that has never ever faltered, at least as a user, right, in any significant way, has always been that it's pretty. It's a pretty website. It's the design is functional, but also it's simple and functional, intuitive, but also quite powerful, because you're facilitating the use of a complex piece of technology, and you're a big part of that on the design side. So, what has your experience been? First of all, how'd you get here, and what, you know, what's it been like designing and contributing to the design of Namebase?
Yeah, thank you for that, because it's a good question. So I came. How did I come about Namebase, right? So before Namebase, I was working at Namecheap as a UX design manager, and my team was basically focused on innovation and creating new products for Namecheap and several internal initiatives. So when I heard heard about Namebase was when there was interest to acquire it. Although we already were selling SLD handshakes on Namecheap, it was still like a new thing, and it still is a new thing internally on Namecheap, to be honest. But it's getting more and more recognition as we evolve. But yeah, so my background on product design was a lot to do with ICANN domains, you know, understanding how the technology works, what enables it to work as it does, and it works really well. But on the other side, my focus was to innovate domains, innovate the product, you know. And I've always had my eye on ENS domains, and they do kind of solve a really big, I wouldn't say problem, but it's more of a challenge, which is resolving wallet with names, which essentially that's what, you know, the numbers and random letters, and we added meaning to them by applying a name to that string. So what they were doing there is adding a name to that string, that wallet address, and making it, you know, recognizable, readable, understandable. And that's one of the things that started to catch my attention. But when I heard about Handshake and really started getting into it, and I guess like most of you got into it, was and researching about Namebase, you know, watching all the YouTube videos that they made. You know, Johnny Wu was a big part of what made me understand it in a simpler way, and I guess to all of most of the community as well. So this got me interested because I saw new possibilities in terms of product, new possibilities in terms of user experience with this decentralized protocol. So there's always been this thing of what is the next big thing for domains. And this is something that Namecheap CEO talks about a lot. And I 100% agree with that vision, which is the username, the handles, the profile naming, because the digital ID essentially, right? Because domain related, maybe never even thought about buying a domain. When I talk about domains, they think, oh, the website, right? But the thing is, none of them have websites, but all of them have IDs, all of them have social medias. So the use case and potential for growth in that sense is way bigger than anybody's imagining right now. And when I saw the opportunity to get into Namebase, which was not given to me, I fought to get in there, which ended up, working out, obviously, thanks to Richard and to Aaron that gave me the opportunity. Then I slowly started working my way into understanding how things worked on the Web3 and how we could potentially make it happen product-wise to go into that direction, which I believe we're going with certain products that we're creating, like HNS.id. So yeah, that's basically how I got into Handshake. Kind of a mixed story, but yeah, it started out with Namecheap.
Okay, so I want to hop into some name-based features in a second, but you touched on a lot of stuff, and as a fanboy, I'm going to summarize it real quick.
Sure.
This is a big deal. First of all, Namebase was a company started started in an incubator by somebody named Kayshawn, and Johnny Wu was also a big part of that. So it was started right with somebody who discovered Handshake and said, "There's a lot we can do here." Not somebody who came from an old school DNS world, just somebody that really saw a fascination with the Handshake technology. From there, it evolved and captured the majority of the market use because it was really, really easy to use, right? It was very friendly to use, and it had a business development kind of manager, if you will. His name was Johnny Wu, who also was a big reason why I was able to understand Handshake. Who did a lot of the legwork with getting people to know it, and it was influential with you. Now, you come from Namecheap, a massive registrar in the domain space, right? And we'll call Web 2 domains for the purposes of this. And Namecheap and the CEO Richard saw the value in something like Handshake and Namebase to the point where it started listing TLDs on the Namecheap platform and eventually acquiring the whole company, which is where you come in here. And I think that's a big deal because it's a track. I came at Namebase and Handshake kind of from the crypto side originally. Now, I always thought domains were very limited in their functionality, and it made a lot more sense to use DNS as an identifier than all of these larger social media companies that have now branded people, where people have branded under them. But then I saw Handshake and I said, oh wait, there's something here, right? Having looked at .eth and Unstoppable and other solutions. So you come at this more from a Web 2 side saying this is better, right? I think is the way I'm understanding this, or this has the potential to be better than what a lot of people are using today. Is that kind of like a fair, and that enthused you enough to kind of jump on board? Is that like a fair way of saying, your
Well, I wouldn't say better, worse, but I would use these two words: the potential to be bigger, so engage with a bigger audience, and also the decentralized aspect of it makes it more private, right? So I think this is a way to make it more private, more secure for people to get online and in touch with different platforms. Sign up process. You just connect your wallet here and there, right? And they don't keep that data. So imagine this for a lot more stuff like buying plane tickets, logging into Instagram, logging into whatever, there's a lot of potential there for sure.
Yeah. I love this is one of the things I love when you speak is that you're very careful with your words. I jump to big words, right? And you're like, well, let's design this sentence more carefully. But I think you're absolutely right that it does have a lot of potential. And it puts the user kind of a bit more in control, still to interact with all the same things, but in a more in more control. Um, so speaking about that, I think handshake is abstract the way that Bitcoin is abstract, and the reality is that everyone who starts using it probably won't use it in its raw form, right? They probably won't be running a full node and getting really technical. You and I are not immensely technical people. We are, we know it. We have learned it, I think, in order to use it. There's going to be tools. Namebase is a big tool that makes it friendly, to use. But what are some things that you envision, things that you're working on that you think are going to kind of help nudge this into a more user-friendly world?
Automating processes, basically. So having non-technical people use the domains I would say is a goal for sure, because most of the masses are not, and even people within the community are not. So yeah, my work really is to improve the user experience and make it usable for the masses, I would say, for everybody. And automating processes, making the tech on the background super efficient, to make the front end as good as an experience as possible. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I believe that I hope that we're entering a new chapter where this will become a little bit less of just financial kind of speculation and things like that, and trading and buying and selling for the sake of doing so. But I think that's kind of where we had to get started here, right? Improving the marketplace, making it more functional, making it easier for users, just for lack of better words, to start playing around, right? And that was something that you were a big part of originally. And
Mhm.
then the next chapter is going to be, usability, right? And so what were some of the challenges in making the marketplace more accessible, more user friendly, and what are some of the, what is HNS ID? What are the plans for making, for adoption, I guess is the word, right?
Mhm. So in terms of Namebase, I would say the biggest features I've worked on were the registry manager. So TLD owners that have staked TLDs easily manage their sales, the pricing, um, adding premium domains, reserved domains. And if you don't have sales, the ability to easily unstake that name, which only happens if you don't have SLD sales. Um, and yeah, so Namebase and HNS ID are made by the same core team. They do have different goals. I would say Namebase is more focused on the top level domain registrar, so people easily buying the coin, making a bid, winning the TLD, adding some simple DNS records to it to make it usable on for a website or for a username. I would like to highlight that one of the people that works with us has made a lot of contributions and has really been testing the product extensively. Nathan Woodward, and yeah, I love that he's very passionate about testing that side of the product as well. Then we have the other side, which is the marketplace, which is how can investors or speculators uh, easily find names. So the filters were a big part of the revamp, for sure. And we're going to add more features to that filter system in the near future, things like emoji and stuff like that. And and how can they connect their bits to that name and try to buy names easily? I'm not saying it was not easy before. I'm just saying that we provided tools to make it easier to find more specific names. Yeah,
Mhm.
so that was our goal. And HNS Um, HNS is a decentralized second level domain registrar. So very similar to what Impervious Domains is doing. But I would say the main difference is that the SLDs are minted on Optimism and not Ethereum. And the reason why is because of the gas fees, essentially. It's faster and it's more flexible in terms of settings. So, for example, if I want to add let's say a TXT record to my DNS, I would pay a gas fee of around $7-8 on Ethereum. But on Optimism, it's around 10-15 cents.
Mhm.
So it's a huge difference in terms of gas fees. Then we have other features like wallet naming, and also the ability to have a decentralized profile, sort of like how Unstoppable Domains does it, but with Handshake,
Mhm.
and quickly making it accessible to all. And the transactions are super fast. They're almost instantaneously. So this is one of the big reasons why we carefully chose Optimism. And yeah, that's it's a bit different from Namebase because it's more focused on NFT domains and bringing that utility to the NFT domains that you might not have with Web2 domains. So the
Mhm.
wallet naming, the digital ID, hence HNS.id being the name chosen.
Wow. So many, you touched on so many.
Yeah.
No, but it's awesome. I'm gonna try to remember them and not skip over anything. First of all, on Namebase, it took me 3 or 4 times of using the new marketplace to really understand where the improvements had come from. And then once I understood, I said, wow, this is a lot more powerful. To your point, you can find much more specific names, more relatable to what I'm looking for, right? So it's like Amazon. You start with
Yeah.
one product and it's like, well, sure, I got this thing, but I need this other thing. Otherwise, what's this going to be, right? Or I'm actually looking for this, but I only know how to ask for this, right? And that's what the marketplace has now done, is that it makes it much more dynamic, as it relates to the searcher, right? Before it was you had a lot of similar tools, but it was more black and white, and it wasn't friendly. In Spanish, we say amigable, and so that, I think you've definitely accomplished that. Focusing on emojis is crucial because I'm a big fan. So I'm glad that that's on your mind. And I think that's great. You mentioned Nathan. I would one day I hope to get Nathan on here as well, to hear about him. But only speaking to what I know, Nathan has developed, I think, a first iteration of HNS Call within the last like 3 weeks, which is a very cool tool to be able to do effectively, video and audio calls over handshake names. Nathan, this weekend, I need to dig more into it, but I may have been launching a wallet called Fire Wallet. So Nathan is not messing
Yeah.
around. Nathan's focusing a lot on the whole handshake community and in Namebase. And he's very active on the Discords and on the Telegrams and things like that. So it's awesome to hear that you guys are all working together there and getting a lot of different hands in the cookie jar, to get the final products. In terms of HNSID, so I'm familiar with Impervious. I had Mike Carson on here. Big fan, particularly when they started shipping product, right, which was a while ago. I think the community was a little bit dormant, and I'm very grateful for those tools. And I recently went to NamesCon, where I saw Unstoppable do a presentation, and I'm not a user of Unstoppable Domains, but I am a business person. And in business, the way that you get people to use your product is by reducing friction as much as possible, right? Like they don't want to know, the person who drives a car doesn't care where the oil comes from. They care that when they go to the gas station, within a few minutes, their car has gas and they're moving, right? And
Yep.
that's what Unstoppable does really well for the end user. It seems very intuitive for the end user. Move back over here. And I'm losing my rug. And it's really great to see that that Handshake is taking steps in that direction. I mean, through Namebase. Now, I don't want to speak to things I don't know, but Optimism, as I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong, is a layer 2 solution on Ethereum. What does it do? It reduces friction. It makes it easier, cheaper, faster, and more dynamic to leverage the Ethereum technology, which is what's going to help get TLDs and SLDs out there, or SLDs out there, right? And it does it and it facilitates it. I mean, even for you guys who are building it out. And
Mhm.
so it's still Ethereum, but through this very fast and dynamic layer 2 technology, which is perfect for what we're trying to do here, which is domains. If it costs me $2 to register a .decentralized domain and I have to pay $8 to update my TXT records, right? And then it doesn't exactly make a lot of sense. Am I on the right track here?
Yeah. It also depends on how the gas fees are, because they're also dynamic in price. But I would say that right now they're a lot lower than Ethereum, and they still have the same capabilities, same NFT capabilities as a regular NFT. So we'll be able to list them on marketplaces like OpenSea and stuff like that. So yeah, I like the way you summarized it. So it's making it frictionless for the user. And this is just the first iteration. We're gonna improve on it. Of course, this is our version of an MVP that we're gonna launch. See if it works, see if people get interested in it, and then, of course, if there's interest, we'll invest more in improving it. So yeah.
It's also a big testament to that. That's what, I have a hard time. I don't need to sell anybody on Handshake, right? But I do it with my friends and my family to try to explain, to them how cool this is, because they're like, what is with you in that H thing? And so I try to explain to them, and I have a hard time, and I go, you have to understand something about this, is that we're talking about a technology that is extremely powerful. And they're like, well, show me. I'm like, it's being built. And they're like, what do you mean it's being built? I'm like, this stuff, you have a TLD, and that's what it just starts like, right? But if you can envision where it's going to go, which now this is helping us see it, you'll have a TLD. You'll be able to have SLDs on that TLD. It's going to be able to travel via Optimism, and then it might end up on some marketplace, some NFT marketplace that doesn't yet exist today. The TLD could have been minted in 2020, and then the SLD could have been registered in 2022, and the marketplace could be existing in 2024. But because that raw technology, right, is so dynamic, it can travel in these ways. It's almost like, like it's cement. It's the ability to build cement. Now, the building that you're going to build could be in a whole different city in a whole different country later, but the raw materials of the core components of Handshake are able to transcend, because they interact with DNS, which is kind of the language of the internet. Which, I don't know, I'm getting real abstract here, but it's very cool to see that these new things that are being built are leveraging how dynamic TLD, or Handshake names can be. That
Yeah.
Do you, if you have anything to add to that, please do. Otherwise, what, as a user, because clearly you are a fan as well, and as somebody with so much experience with the traditional, DNS system, and seeing, the first Handshake TLDs being listed on Namecheap, from a normal, DNS user, what is it that you can do with Handshake names, either can do or more easily do, that you can't do with normal to, Web 2.0 domains?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing that came to my attention was something that's really aligned with Namecheap's vision, which is to make make the internet open and free for everyone. And the ability to make censorship resistant websites was one of the main things that caught my eye, because we in the industry we see a lot of websites getting turned down or not being accessible for certain countries like google.com in China, stuff like that. There's way more examples. And through Handshake, Google can have .google, and it can resolve anywhere in the world without anybody taking it down, because it's anchored to the Handshake protocol, right? So that was one of the first things that really caught my eye, which was we could make the internet accessible to everybody through this technology, and that was the first step. The second step was, what else can we do with these names? So through the compatibility with the NES, we can also have email, we can also have logins, we can also have like you said, Nathan, making calls and messages like HNS chat. All of that is possible, and I think the decentralized point is just a way to make it more accessible to everyone, right? Because with a .com, you can make an HNS chat with a .com. You can have your handle, what's a social media that's putting the domains as handles? Blue Sky. Yeah, so Blue Sky, I have Blue Sky, and I have an ICANN domain on Blue Sky. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a Handshake domain. But the ability to make it censorship free allows it to be more adopted around the world. So this is one of the things that caught my eye for sure in terms of differences. Because, like I said, email, websites, using it as a username, you can do that with ICANN domains, right? But I think that the decentralized side of it, the censorship-free, is what makes it special in my eyes.
Yeah, and you touched on a couple things again there that
always more than one.
Yeah, but it's important to see how there are layers to this, and I can relate to some of these. I studied abroad in China for a little while, and I remember using WeChat in China. And first of all, thinking, wow, this is cool. This is cool, but it wasn't designed for me. Now it wasn't designed for me because I only speak English, right? And then I was there. It was still very user friendly, and it was in English, but there were some nuances. And then I noticed that the students I was studying with, the Chinese students, were downloading VPNs to be able to get onto Instagram, right? Which I was like, well, okay, I speak Instagram, and you speak WeChat, and they're slightly different. But because there weren't ways for them to access things like Instagram just natively through their traditional phones. And so, which always was curious to me, because I thought that internet was, kind of an open, global infrastructure, a common good, if you will. Another thing to note for me was that when I would travel to Argentina a lot, when AIM was the big thing, when instant messaging was the big thing, before it got onto iMessage or phones or WhatsApp or anything like that, it was just the ability to sit down at a physical desktop and chat with your friends. But in Argentina, for whatever reason, AOL's infrastructure wasn't that popular, and so MSN Messenger became kind of the king of the South. And so if I wanted to my friends down there or people in Europe, I had to get on MSN Messenger, and I wasn't much of a fan. But then if I was on MSN Messenger, I wasn't talking to anybody on AOL, and it was like, well, I know this is the same thing. I really do. Can we get the logos out of the way and allow it to communicate? That's just as a very basic user. Getting aside from if I'm building a business or a reputation on a brand, I would like it to be able to transfer from platform to platform rather than being kind of locked down to that platform. If Instagram makes a mistake, and I have my entire user base on Instagram, or they do something I disagree with, I don't have the autonomy to be able to carry that somewhere else. Which Blue Sky is doing a great job at that. I think it's a great first step. And the censorship resistant is big, and the ability to truly own it, also to be able to manage it globally. If people say, well, I think it's one thing that I sense is going to be an area of friction for our traditional, internet users or domain owners is, well, I have to buy this token, right? To be able to interact with the Handshake blockchain. And I would almost challenge them and say, you get to buy this universal token. You can convert any of your local currencies into this token. And now on a global level, you can manage your records, your name, your things. It doesn't matter if your country, your bank, or any entity like chooses to interact with this registrar. If that registrar accepts your currency, now you just get to, you get to use this, which is actually today might seem like an area of friction, but tomorrow might seem like a kind of an unleashing of what these domains do, which is kind of something that I've always seen, but definitely more tomorrow's world than maybe today's. What
It's
or what do you have thoughts on that on the financial side? Namecheap must have to collect money from all sorts of people. You've seen that. What's all that like?
well, it's an interesting observation because you're trying to figure out a simple way to summarize what you said, which is, I believe, going from custodial to non-custodial data. And I think it's possible, but there's a lot of business challenges behind that, because most of these companies rely on keeping that data to make to use it for profit. So once they figure out how to go around these business challenges, and that's not my area of expertise by any means, but I think that it will be easier to gain that sort of adoption. And in regards to China, yeah, that's 100% true. Before Namecheap, I was working at a place called Porto Design Factory, and we did a 20-day project in Hefei, which is like 600 kilometers from Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time I ever heard of VPN also. And I got kind of amazed that they included VPN bills already in like their monthly expenses. And in Portugal, we didn't even hear about VPN. Shout out to fastVPN.com, owned by Namecheap. Shameless plug. Yeah, it works well. It's the one I use as well, and whenever I travel, so check it out, fastvpn.com. In regards to the custodial and non-custodial, I think it's just I think it's more of a business problem rather than a usability problem, because we can easily make it happen technology-wise, but it might not be the best profitable solution for businesses to allow it to be so. So I guess there's a big challenge there, for sure. And also, at the same time, decentralization is kind of like what allows this to become, self-custodial, right? So it takes out the middleman. And forever, as we can remember, the middleman was the guy that made the money. That's the guy that made things happen. And now we don't have a guy, we have a blockchain protocol. So it's pretty new, it's pretty scary. There's, I believe, some challenges around that. So yeah, once these are figured out, I think it will be easier for adoption to happen as well.
Yeah. It's so if you don't mind, I'm about to take a philosophical turn here, right? But you touched on something there, which is the blockchain. The blockchain is so funny to me because it's what we crave a lot as users, as a basic consumer. What you look for is a central point of thing that you can trust, right? When we say we want good customer service, what we mean is we just want a predictable, place to be able to refer to and trust for the settling of transactions and for things like that. But then it's also funny that because a blockchain doesn't care who you are, period, it can scare off some companies because they go, well, I can't manipulate this guy. I can't throw him an extra tip or pay him a little bit more money and get what I want faster than somebody else or sooner than somebody else, right? And have it cater to me, which can be a little bit scary to a business. But as a consumer, of course, I crave that because I want everything to be universal all the time, every time. But as a business, it might not be so great, even though I think it should be looked at through the same lens by both entities, which is, it's I can trust it, right? Oxygen's oxygen, doesn't matter where I land, I can breathe it. Great. I don't want to be changing my, I don't want to not be able to trust certain air. So So I think it's an interesting part, but it adds challenges for some businesses to trust and some users to and you know because maybe it benefits the user mostly because it doesn't care who you are, right? You could be name cheap or you could be Alex in his garage buying domain names. It's still the same chain. Um, but I think I don't know. I think it's a good thing. Any thoughts on that?
It's a challenge, right? I think it's something that needs time to figure out what's the right balance to make it um, good for the customers, but also make sense as a business goal, So yeah, but I think we're moving towards that, and solutions like what you're seeing out right now are helping other, I would say, businesses gain trust to move forward with some ideas as well. It's like almost a validation point in terms of business as well, because in terms of utility, in terms of usability, we have that validation already, but for it to be a bit step further to have more investment, there needs to be this market fit, right? Product market fit.
And and it's also important right now. Now, speak in Handshake, we have a lot of people that are extremely passionate about decentralization and custody and all of that. But also, and my trip to NamesCon helped reinforce this. Adoption, which is what so many people claim to want, is not done through abstract, difficult to understand systems, right? Even if you feel like you understand them, it is done through friendlier systems with pretty design and good marketing and thoughtfulness built into it. So having things built on top of Handshake's core fundamental technology and making it friendlier is what will lead to more people using it. What you're doing with HNS ID is still abstract at this moment, but I think we're going to very easily be able to see the future of it, right? Just like kind of what Namebase was for the first wave for people like me and you. We're going to start seeing this. There will be these
Yeah.
middle, but they're going to be held accountable by the technology, which I think is new and will be exciting. It's okay that if you acquire your first SLD TLD through a centralized platform, right? But what's good is that you will retain some power when the time comes to want it. Um, and I think and I'm very excited for HNS ID. I'm going to start flashing this all over my socials. I'll put it
Cool.
on my LinkedIn. I don't care. Tell people you're going to have to get to know me as a.
It's interesting because although it's still abstract, I think selling NFT domains will be easier to sell than the Handshake protocol, because people have heard of NFTs and it has a way bigger marketplace than Handshake. So I guess it's a step forward to making it less abstract. And then there will be a next step and the next step. So we're taking things cautiously, but with the right intent, if this makes sense.
Absolutely. People don't. I haven't taken the time to clarify the name of my channel or my brand, but I do not believe that NFTs are stupid. I think that NFTs, despite the name of my company, that's the marketer in me getting your attention. But I do believe
No,
that you're
it's
right.
great. I like it.
Thank you. I think that the NFT will become a household name more, as much or more than the MP3 ever, came into our lives or other things like that. This is going to become the fundamentals of how society trusts each other, and making kind of everything will find its way into that world, and that world will become kind of the global, the universal language of transferring digital assets. Obviously, obviously to me, maybe not to somebody else today, but I think it's a huge first step, and people have heard about them, and people will start associating with them, and people will want to build their brands right through this platform. I'm working with some people, not as a plug, but just as an interesting thing. I met a girl at a party. She's an NFT artist. We're working on doing a collaboration of products, and she's always been an artist, but she hasn't been able to build a business, and now she can, right? And you can do that on all sorts of levels through NFTs, and they have so many unique properties. So I
That's
think
interesting. I also helped a mother of a friend of mine mint an NFT collection of the paintings she draws. So she was never she's not a technology person at all. She's like almost 60 years old, but she loves painting. And we explained to this person, this non-tech person at all, what NFTs were, and she gave it a shot. And now it's on OpenSea for sale, and OpenSea makes it super simple to create these collections. And it's it's just like her paintings were locked in a room forever if it weren't for these type of technologies, So I think that's awesome.
Absolutely, it's going to unlock it. My grandmother was also big into, she did a lot of art for the sake of doing it, but having, her goal wasn't, wouldn't have been to make a bunch of money, but her goal would have been like, I want as many people that like flowers to see my flowers, right? That's what I want, and I know that you internet kids have a way of doing that. How are we going to do it? And we've seen earlier iterations with DeviantArt and other stuff like that. So it is awesome to see that to see it grow, and I agree. OpenSea makes it easy. I use Stargaze, and that they also make it easy. And there's just a bunch of different. It's just going to become easier and more natural. And the kids that are in high school today, they're gonna want they're gonna want to be using these technologies the way that I think you and I thought. Oh, I want to do something. I need a website. I'm going to build a website or get an app or build an app or something like that. Speaking of apps, you have dabbled in the world of apps. Another shameless plug here
Right.
about some other stuff you've built, because I use your app effectively every day. So
Wow, thank you.
yeah, I'm a huge fan. You might get a rug one of these days. There might be. What inspired you to make the app? That was one of your first things, right?
Yeah, so um it goes back to when I was trying to get the Namebase job. So the way I got it was I studied the platform, studied the customer feedback, and presented basically the results of the synthesis of this research to my manager, and then a design solution to solve these problems. So and one of the things was of the points was easy conversion on the website itself. And this is so simple to do. And I basically had the idea um, to make it simple to use, and also maybe have a calculator. So that would be kind of like an interesting mix to it. And yeah, I designed the app like in a day and a half, maybe.
Oh,
And then I showed the designs to this developer friend, Hector, a good friend of mine. He's a super senior, like iOS developer, Android developer, mobile developer, I guess. And yeah, it took about a month to develop. I also helped him out with some code to also get into code. And then we shipped out the product, because my idea was basically to solve this simple issue that people were having, but also took it as an opportunity to become more into the code world, because at Namebase I'm the only designer, right? And everybody else is like a developer, and they're all like really really good and pretty senior developers. So I wanted to take this as an opportunity to also improve my communication skills to these like super technical guys, which I did. And yeah, then I ended up launching HNS Switch, and got a few downloads. My goal is like, if we reach let's say like 500 downloads, which it hasn't yet, probably create an API, and then easily plug this API to make a conversion on other websites like ShakeStation, Namebase, whatever, stuff like that.
heck yeah.
Um, yeah, that's it. It started with a simple research.
Well, I'm gonna put on my sales hat real quick. The app is called HNS Switch. Alex developed it to get a job and to help us all out. And it allows you to convert your to conceptualize what a USD is in relationship, so US dollars in relationship to handshake tokens, Bitcoin. You can very easily switch amongst the currencies available on iOS and Android. I'm an iOS user. Is it on Android?
Yeah, it launched on Android first, actually.
Perfect. And so it launched on Android first. I wouldn't know. And we're trying to get to 500 downloads, people. So come on, let's get it downloaded here real quick so we can start seeing start seeing HNS Switch on all sorts of different platforms. I think it's a great tool. I know it gets used during the auctions. I definitely use it when I'm determining what I want to buy and with which asset. And most importantly, like the design is pretty, but it's just extremely functional. It is as good, right, as the Apple like calculator that's integrated into the phone. But allows you to conceptualize currencies. So we'll be getting a couple more downloads. I'll put the word out.
Yeah, check the link down below in the
Yes.
description.
Yeah, we'll get that. I think I need to do something for YouTube to let me put links, but we're gonna do it soon. And we'll get it out there. Well, I think if it's all right with you, Alex, I think we're gonna have to just have a part two, because I enjoy talking with you a lot, sir. And maybe we can
Sure.
chat about some developments a little bit down the line and show some more things off. And just keep connecting, because this has been really awesome. I can't thank you enough for the time today.
No, thank you. And yeah, let's keep talking and whatever, technology, blockchain, handshake, NFTs, whatever you feel like. And of course, whenever we have updates, it's cool to shout out. And yeah, let's
Yeah,
keep in touch.
I owe you guys a few more videos. I've been consolidating the YouTube channel, but I want to use a couple more videos. There's been some cool features that have been rolled out. I think I should take some time to kind of explain those to the users. They would love to use them. And then we'll reconnect. I'm sure hopefully before the next HandyCon, but we'll definitely be there. And then one of these days in person. No doubt about it.
Let's do it.
All right, awesome, Alex. Thank you again so much. Everybody, download HNS Switch. Check out the new features on Namebase. Consider myself or even Alex. Alex is super receptive to communication, a point of contact for any questions. And I hope you have a great start to your week, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.